but we need to start pulling all this stuff together. According to my records, we have finished the first page of review number 2. Does that match yours? All right. Before I erase this leftover from Mr. McCarthy's geometry class, these are the congruence postulates for triangles. They look familiar to you, right? But 2 of them are wrong. Which are the 2 up here that are not actual postulates you can use? Hypotenuse slave is a congruence postulate. You are allowed to use that one. We know this one's not because it makes a bad word, right? You can't use that one. What's the other one? Can't use all A's, right? AAA is not a congruence postulate. These are right here. So the next time you're proving your triangle's congruent, those are the ones that you are allowed to use. Okay. So here we go. E says find the tangent of 7 pi over 4, and F says find the cosine of 3 pi over 2. So remember, this is still on the no calculator page. So you are not going to be using a calculator to do this problem. So what do we need to do? Find the tangent of 3 pi over 4. So Solomon says the first thing I better do is figure out that pi is 180. So the tangent of, let's see, 180 divided by 4 is 45 times 7, 315. So I'm finding the tangent of 315. And again, if I can't do that in my head, it's perfectly okay. We need to write it down. But you gotta find out that's 315. All right, so now I know it's 315. So what do I do now? Graph it. And 315 would be all the way over here, right? That's 315. So then I gotta find this angle right here. This one right here. How will I do that? It's 45, and the arithmetic I do is 360 minus 315, so that's 45 degrees. What does that automatically mean then about my triangle? 1 root 2, and then I pause. Anything negative? This one right here, right? That one's negative, down. I'm on the back. I'm going to practice this to the back of the front page. And then what's the tangent definition? Tangent is opposite over adjacent. So that'll be negative 1 over 1, which is negative 1. Did they tell you what to do? Christian? Did they tell you what to do? Oh. Did they tell you what to do though about getting a new ID?
Well, I said I didn't want to get a new ID yet because I was still looking for it.
Oh, okay. Did you find it, Aiden? Did you tell them at the office that you lost it?
I can do that.
Yeah, I'd do that. Somebody probably.
I got scared though. Mr. Barr was in a Frankenstein mask. Scared the crap out of me.
Really? Is he like dressed too, or is it just a mask?
It was a mask and he had like gloves on, and like, you know, he's like really tall.
Yeah, he is really tall. And when he was a student here, he was that tall, but he was only about this big around. All right, cosine 3 pi over 2. Same thing, only this one's a little bit different. What's 3 pi over 2? 90. Well, pi over 2 is 90. Times 3 is 270. So this is the cosine of 270. Pi is 180 divided by 2 is 90 times 3. And what's different about this one is, where's 270? It's on the line. What do we do differently when our angle is on the line? We draw a circle. radius of the circle is 1. So the coordinates of this point would be 0, negative 1. Here's the origin, down 1, 0, negative 1. X is 0, y is negative 1, that's from your point. We need cosine. What's cosine? X over r. So using the numbers that you got, x over r would be 0 over 1, which is 0. So the cosine of 3 pi over 2 is 0. Now the next one wants to know which quadrant we're in. So that's all. All you're doing is figuring out which quadrant. So let's look at what they gave us. What does less than 0 mean? Negative. So the cosine is negative. Now I'm just going to stop right there. You just told me that cosine is associated with which letter? X. If cosine is negative, X is negative. So think about your coordinate axis system. Think about the quadrants. Where is X negative? Right here. So I'll put a check mark here and right here, right?
Yeah.
Those are the places that the cosine would be negative, because cosine is X and X is negative in these two quadrants. So already I know my answer is either 2 or 3. So I'm going to look at the second piece of information. What does this mean? Greater than 0. Positive. So I need the cosecant to be positive. What's the definition of cosecant? Hypotenuse over opposite. What is it in terms of letters? R over Y. So this one is R over Y. So cosecant is associated with Y. Kids, R isn't part of the conversation because R is always positive. R is positive all the time. So I gotta look at my X and my Y. I need Y to be positive. So remember, these are your only two options. Which one has a positive Y? This one, right? So your answer is, these have positive Y. This is the only one that also has a negative X. So my answer is quadrant 2. Cosine, if you want to know the SIGN, the positive or negative of the cosine, you look at X. If you want to know the positive or negative of the sine, you look at Y. All right, now we're going to do some sketching. So just like your quiz, you got one of each. All right, here we go. Here we go. Starting off with a tangent. Do you remember that tangents have asymptote, and squiggly line?
Squiggly line.
The difference is, thank you, Mrs. Hollis. I knew I'd be there.
Well, you almost became mama function. I gave that to Rachel since it was her idea. Mama function.
God bless.
Shaddy was a crazy uncle.
Math department. So, you know how you have your BFFs, they're called parent functions? So we're all variations of the parent function. Clever. Clever. Okay, it wasn't my idea. I'm not that clever. I have clever people in the department. All right, this is a negative tangent. So what does that mean? It's upside down, so it looks like this. So it squiggles through the origin. Please make sure your picture looks something like that. Okay? Now, what is the amplitude of every tangent that you ever draw? None. There's no height. See those arrows? No height. Now normally these labels would be negative 90 and 90. Those would be the normal labels. But this changes that. The number on X changes these labels for all your pictures. So what does that number do? It divides these numbers. So 90 divided by a half is really 90 times 2. So these are negative 180 and 180. Which makes my period then what? No, it's not 180. How far is it from start to finish? 360. So your period is 360. Your period is how far it is from the beginning of your curve to the end of your curve. So negative 180 to 180. All right, now we got a sine. This is just a regular sine curve. It's not upside down or anything. So there it is. What is the amplitude? 1. These are the normal marks, right?
Yeah.
And we didn't change that because there's no number written out here in front. Right? So it stays 1. So my amplitude is 1. Now, I have to label the high point where I cross, the low point and where I end. Those are where my hash marks go. And they are normally at 90, 180, 270, and 360. But again, we've changed that by putting a number on X. What does that number do? Divides. So all these are going to be divided. So the actual labels for this picture are 30, 60, 90, and 120, which makes my period 120 degrees, because that's the distance from the start to the end. Okay? In a few short days, you have to do this by yourself, so try to stay focused and paying attention, okay? Here we go, got a cosine. It's positive. This is the one that gives us the most trouble. So I want you to make sure that what you are drawing on your page looks just like that. Not a variation of that. It needs to look like that. This should not be going up. This goes just like that. We're going to label our top and bottom points. What are those going to be for this problem? 5 and negative 5, making our amplitude 5. We have hash marks where we cross our low point and where we end. Those are our hash marks. Make sure that's where yours are. They shouldn't be anywhere else. They should normally be 90, 180, 270, 360. But we've changed those, right? We changed those by putting 4 in there. What does that 4 do? Divides. So 90 divided by 4. Notice I'm like dividing 22 and a half. Now I gotta find all the rest of them. So can I do the same division? Can I do 180 divided by 4? 270 divided by 4? 260 divided by 4? Sure I can. What else can I do? Just add 22 and a half? Whatever's easiest for you. It doesn't make any difference. Either do the division or do the addition. So if I add, those are the labels that I get, making my period 90 degrees. Okay? Any question about the graphs? Well, I know we started it yesterday, but that's the end of the no calculator part. So on test day, you'll turn that in, and then you'll get another page, and you'll get your calculator out, because the next thing we do is all calculator. I can't hear you, sweetheart. You're gonna have to talk louder.
Okay, the 5, does it come from the 5?
Yeah. Have you watched those videos yet?
No.
Okay. Okay, now we got our calculators. Everything else you're gonna have a calculator for. So we've got to convert to degrees, minutes, and seconds, 287.175. So if you know what to do, this takes about 2 seconds. What do? We type in 287.175. And then what? Guys, we talked about this just yesterday. Come on. We go to our second angle menu, second apps, and go down to DMS, and it gives us the answer. It says 287 degrees, 10 minutes, and 30 seconds. So how do we do that again? One more time, we're not going to talk about this anymore. Let's get it down. We go to second apps and click down to DMS because we're looking for degrees, minutes, seconds. Press enter and that should give you the answer. Now we need to do a whole bunch of just type in problems. So what's going to be your strategy when you have this set of problems on your test? Do something first. Doesn't have to be degrees, but since your calculator is probably set in degrees, that would make sense. So we're going to start by doing anything with a degree mark. So that would be that one, and that one, and that one, right? We're going to start typing them in. So here we go. How do I type a cosecant in on my calculator when I don't have that button? 1 divided by sine, right? And then I got to do 183 second apps degrees, 21 second apps minutes, and then 3 alpha plus. Oh gosh, I got negative 17.1087. I need to check one thing. Yeah, that's right. Is that what you got? Negative 17.1087, rounding to the nearest 10,000. All right, now I'm doing this one. Nothing fancy. Tangent, 321 second apps degrees, 58 second apps minutes, negative 0.7822. You good? And then how do I do a secant? 1 divided by cosine 23.
Okay, it's probably radians though.
and it's 1.0864. Now, when there are no minutes or seconds or anything, when it's just a straight degrees, you don't actually have to type the degree mark. You can if you want, it won't hurt anything. The only time you have to type the degree mark is when you've got more stuff after it. If you just have 23 degrees, you can just type in 23. All right, so everybody got all the degree problems done? All right, so now we're gonna go to mode, highlight radian and press enter. And even though it's still flashing, it doesn't matter. As long as you press enter, you're good. Now we're gonna type this, and we're gonna type exactly what it says. Don't get crazy. Type in what it says. So second tangent, 1.375, 0.9420.
Wait, why do you put a second? Oh, mine.
Look at the problem. All right, and then cosine 1.75, negative 0.1782. These can be negative, so we're not worried about that. And then sine 18, where's your pi button? You need it. Where's your pi button? Right underneath the clear, right on your caret. So 18 pi divided by 77. 0.6701. 10,000 means 4 decimal places. Those of you without calculators, I would strongly suggest that on your own time, when you have a calculator, you practice typing these in.
Put it in radians when it's decimal.
And there's no degree.
That's what I did bad on my quiz. I had it in radians the whole time.
That's not good. Okay, all right, so then the next section, we still need a calculator, but now we're doing, finding some parts of triangles. So these problems are just like the word problems in the way you set up your equations. So every equation you set up is going to be a sine, cosine, or tangent. So you gotta look at the situation that you've been given. Do you think this will be a sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. The hypotenuse isn't even in the problem, so you can't use sine or cosine, right? It has to be tangent. So tangent x equals 8/9. Remember when you write your equation, the angle, whatever the angle is, it gets hooked right to the function. So sine x, tan x, cosine x, it's hooked right to it. Equals opposite over adjacent. How do you solve that? If x is your angle, then you have to use your second function. You have to use your special tangent button. That is the only way to find an angle. We only do this when we are looking for an angle, which is what we're doing in this problem. Now, I do want to caution you, notice in the problem, this says x degrees. How does your calculator have to be set? In degrees. It's tricky, you gotta pay attention to that. So once you get it in degrees, then you can do second tangent, 8 divided by 9. And it's 41.63 degrees. Doesn't really say how to round.
If you put 40, just put
It'll say on the test how to round. I'm just interested in you getting that number. All right, then look at this picture. You're gonna write an equation for that picture, and what's it gonna be? Sine? Sine 63 equals 12 over x. Does everybody understand why he said sine? He's right. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Will, you awake, honey? You wanna sit up? You feel okay? Alright. How do I solve this? Bring the x over. And then I have to have x by itself, so I'm going to divide. So 12 divided by sine 63. So I got 13.47. Everybody okay? Remember I draw a course at 310 degrees? This is super simple, but you have to remember, I mean, I've set the compass up for you, but you need to remember, where does the 0 go? Where do I start all the counting from? The 0 goes up here. So that's the part you have to remember. If it's a compass problem, that's how we start measuring. So where am I going to put 310? Here? So this is what you're going to mark on your paper. You're going to show that arrow shooting off into quadrant 4, or quadrant 2, sorry, shooting off into quadrant 2. And you're going to draw your angle and indicate that that's 310 degrees, starting here and going this way. And that's all you have to do for that problem. That's it. Done. Now we looked at one of this, next one here, we looked at one of these yesterday. We have to do this both ways. We have to do it exactly, which means we're going to draw a picture and all that. And then we have to do it decimally, which means we're going to do it on our calculator. Now, that part is very easy. You just type that in exactly the way it's written. You don't need any parentheses. The calculator takes care of everything. So you just type cosine, second sine, 1 divided by 3. You don't have to put anything else in. Cosine second sine 1 divided by 3, and the decimal answer is 0.9428. That's it. That is so easy. Don't think you have to type in anything like parentheses or equals. Don't. Just type cosine second sine 1/3. Done. Now, when we do it by hand, it's kind of a two-step problem because it has a cosine and a sine in it. So we start with the parentheses, of course, and we draw a picture of that. In which quadrant will I draw my triangle? 1. Because we're going to draw it in 1 unless there's something in the problem that tells you otherwise. So you're drawing it in 1. Now, what does this tell you? The fact that it's a sine and it's a 1/3.
It's opposite.
Opposite and hypotenuse. Right? So what do you think we're going to do now? What do we always do when we're in this situation? We find the third side. And the third side you can do the Pythagorean theorem for. Okay? Gideon, you okay? Okay. Try to stay focused. Alright, so 1 divided by 3 is my sine. What's my other side going to be? Pythagorean theorem would say what? What did you say? Someone said something. Root 8. Perfect. If you said root 10, you are not on target. x squared plus 1 squared equals 3 squared is the way that has to be set up. So x squared plus 1 equals 9, x squared equals 8, that's the square root of 8. Which actually reduces to what? To root 2. Right? Now I got my whole picture drawn, so now I can find my cosine. What's my cosine? 2 root 2 over 3. So there's my exact answer. Here's my decimal answer. Now the only thing left are our word problems. So let's get through these and then we'll do one of your practice worksheets. There we go. So let's see, all these word problems are going to start with this picture, so I'll just go ahead and draw a couple of them here. All right, what do we have? We have a squirrel on the top of a tree. Guess what he's doing? Looking at a nut on the ground. His angle of depression is 17.7. Find the height of the tree. Does that all make sense? Now I need to put a 52 in this problem. So let's see. Let's figure out where that 52 goes. The squirrel is in the top of a tree looking at a nut on the ground that is 52 feet away from him. Hypotenuse. So now we write the equation. Sine, cosine, or tangent?
Opposite over sine.
Sine. So sine 17.7, remember? Angle always goes with the sine, so sine 17.7 equals opposite over hypotenuse. What will you type in? How will you solve this one? 52 sine 17.7. Don't forget to put a unit on that. We always do that with our word problems. Did you get 15.81 feet? It says round to the nearest hundred. Now we have a fish in the water 100 feet from shore. Where's the 100 gonna go? On the bottom. And he spots a seagull on a jetty that is 12 feet tall. What is the fish's angle of elevation? How does that picture look to everybody? Good? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. So tan x equals 12 over 100. Uh-oh. What do I do when x is the angle? Yeah, there's nothing, you can't like divide by tan. That's not going to work. How do we do this? The only way to do it is to use inverse tangent. When you are looking for an angle, you have got to use your special angle button. So special tangent 12 divided by 100, 6.84 degrees. Is that okay? All right, I'm ready for C and D. Here we go. An airplane is approaching an airport. The plane is in the air, the port is on the ground, right? Find the desired angle of descent. The angle of descent is actually up here, but remember all of our angles we're going to put down here because alternate interior angles are congruent. So we're always going to put our angle right here. Find the desired angle of descent if the pilot wants to land at a point that is currently 7,000 feet from the plane. So the point is 7,000 feet from the plane. So where is that going to go? On the hypotenuse. And the plane is 235 feet above the ground. Sine, cosine, or tangent? Sine. You're looking at that angle right there, kids. So sine x is opposite over hypotenuse. What do we do when it's sine x? We have the second sine, inverse sine, special sine, whatever you want to call it. That's what we have to do. So second sine, 235 divided by 7,000. I got 1.92 degrees. Did you?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful people. Here we go. D, find the height of a flagpole that makes a shadow 16.62 feet long when the angle of elevation is 64 degrees. Now, do all of my letters and numbers make sense where I put them? It's really important you get everything right because that's how you're going to decide whether you use sine, cosine, or tangent. So what am I using here? Sine, cosine, or tangent? Tangent. So I'll say tan 64 equals opposite over hypotenuse. So what am I going to type into my calculator? What's x going to equal? 16.62 tan 64? I got 34.08. And is that feet? Yep. One more. What have we got this time? What is the angle of elevation of a man looking at the top of a building that is 48 feet tall if he is standing 3,000 feet from the top of the building? Where does the 3,000 go? Hypotenuse. You gotta read it. It says the man is 3,000 feet from the top of the building. Sine, cosine, or tangent? Sine. So sine equals opposite over hypotenuse. How am I going to type that in on my calculator? Second sine. Right? And my answer is oh gosh, did you get 5.92. All right, everybody okay with that? All right, we're gonna save practice test 3. So what I want you to say, yes, because you thought I was gonna be done, really? No. Let's get out your other packet. Oh yes, we have another packet. And in fact, those of you that are working on your homework that's due Monday, have this packet because there are a couple of sheets in this packet that are due on Monday, and we'll go ahead and get started on them right now. They're good review sheets.
This special worksheet.
No, we already turned that one in. It's in that packet though. We're on the, I'm going to do the one that is called Review 4.1 to 4.5. Because this has everything except the word problems and the inverses in it. So this is the Review 4.1 to 4.5. And when I wrote this worksheet, I didn't separate it into 2. So some of the problems have stars next to them, and the star means use a calculator. So if there's no star next to the problem, it's a no calculator problem. If there is a star, then we're going to need to use a calculator. So it's in the packet of papers that you got. And the top page is special angle worksheet, but you may have ripped that off already. So then there's a worksheet 4.4 to 4.5, and then there's the one we want, which is 4.1 to 4.5. And this actually has problems on it that are exactly like are going to be on the test. I see just one exception to that. So when we get to it, we'll cross it off. All right, so here we go. We're going to convert to degrees, 5 pi over 4. So what do we do? This is easy. You do this all the time, automatically. Pi divided by 180, right? Or, I mean, pi is 180 divided by 4. So 180 divided by 4 is 45. And 45 times 5 is 225. So pi is 180 divided by 4, 220. Those of you that still can't find the sheet, just stop looking and start paying attention, because I didn't know what to say. Just stop and pay attention. This is what you need to be able to do. Now the next one says, change this to radians, which is exactly what you're going to have to do on your test. How do we change that to radians? Pi over 180, we do a proportion. Pi over 180 equals x over 300.
We do 300 pi.
So 180x equals 300 pi. Cross multiplying, and then we divide. And then we reduce however much we can, so the zeros are gone. 6 5/3. Some of you might divide by 2 first, or 3 or something. It's okay. Just keep dividing until you can't break it down anymore. 5/3 pi. Okay, we're gonna get all that. We're gonna get that right? Okay. Now the next one is the calculator problem. Find degrees, minutes, and seconds. Okay, you know how to do that. We just talked about it a few minutes ago. How do we find degrees, minutes, seconds? We type in the decimal, right? And then where do we go? Second apps, down to DMS, and it's 189 degrees, 43 minutes, and 55.2 seconds. took this class when I was your age, we did that all by hand. You're so lucky.
That sounds horrible.
It was horrible. Convert to decimal degrees, 283 degrees, 10 minutes, 13 seconds. Can you put this into your calculator? All right, do it. So 283 second apps degrees, 10 second apps minutes, 13 alpha plus, and then hit enter, and it comes up as a decimal. That's your decimal degrees. You just type it in, hit enter. Well, there's no directions. I just wrote it down so you can see what it is. There'll be directions for rounding on the test. We don't, that's not what, I want you hung up about that. This is what you should get on your calculator. All right, now we've got an arc length problem. We want to find our arc length, and this is what we're given. What is our formula for arc length? Radius, so arc length equals radius times radian. All right, do I know the radius? 6. Do I know the radian measure of the angle? Yep. How do I know that's a radian measure? There's no degree mark. It's a radian measure. So all I have to do is multiply, oh wait, this is a no calculator problem. So I guess I'm going to do it without a calculator. 1.7 times 6, 10.2. So my arc length is 10.2. What angle measure describes northwest? Okay, well think about your compass. This is north and this is west, right? Northwest means exactly in between those two. So if it's exactly in between, how big is this angle right here? 45. And so is this one, right? If it's exactly in the middle, and that's what northwest means. Now, you need to tell me what angle measure describes that. Remember, when you're measuring on the compass, this is 0, 90, 180, 270, right? So what angle measure would describe northwest? That angle right there. What angle would that be? What is it? 315. Yep, 315. Now, there are lots of ways that you can think about that. One way is to remember that all the way around is 360, but you didn't go all the way around. You didn't go this much. So 360 minus 45 would be one way. Another way is to say, okay, I got to get all the way around here. So there's 90, 180, 270, and 45 more. So either way, doesn't matter. Somehow come up with 315 degrees. Okay, so the next one, definitely a test question. You got to find all of the values. So we got to find sine and cosine, we already know, and tangent, and cosecant, and secant, and cotangent. And since we know cosine, we automatically know secant, right? So we might as well fill that in. Now, to find all the rest of them, you need a picture. And I told you to draw your pictures in quadrant 1, unless I gave you information about where to draw it, which you have right here. What does that tell you? It's drawn in quadrant 4. Because 0, 90, 180, 270, right here. So this picture is drawn in quadrant 4 because you were told that. David, what are you doing? Is that your phone? That's what I thought. Put it away. That's a detention. Okay. Now, cosine is 3/4. So what does that mean? Adjacent hypotenuse. What do I need to do? Come on, we've done it a million times. And what did you get? Did you already do it? Negative square root of 7. So first of all, root 7 is the right answer. If you said 5, you're off base. Your equation is 3 squared plus x squared equals 4 squared. So that's how he got root 7. And second of all, he made it negative because of where he's at in the coordinate axis system. So that's exactly right, which makes his sine what? Sine is, so negative root 7 over 4. And tangent, negative root 7 over 3. And then the reciprocals. That's a definite test question. Does anybody have a question about that? Well, these next problems are also test questions. You already had a quiz over them. We need the cosine of 3 pi over 4 and the tangent of 5 pi over 6. That's probably all we're going to have time for today, but we'll go ahead and get these done. All right?
Yeah, 45.
So pi 180 divided by 4, 45 times 3, 135. So we're going to draw 135, and which quadrant will that be in? 2. So here's 135.
45.
So that's a 45, and we got that by doing 180 minus.
So this is the one where you put the 0 in the far right?
Yes. Unless it's a compass problem, you're always going to label your angles like that. The only time you don't is when there's a direction involved, a compass. What are the sides of the triangle?
1,
1, root 2, and what are the labels?
Wait, like that.
Yeah, I mean, not the labels. What are the signs, negatives and positives?
Negative 1 on the
I need a negative right here, right? And then what's cosine?
Adjacent of hypotenuse.
So negative 1 over root 2, or negative root 2 over 2?
Yes.
One more.
30 times 5, 150.
Very good, Solomon. Those of you that can't hear him up here mumbling, he's saying pi divided by 6 is 30 times 5 is 150. So wouldn't 150 be in the same quadrant? But the angle this time is 30, right? So 1 root 3, 2. Is there a negative anywhere?
Then root 3.
Right there? Right?
Yep.
And I need tangent. What's tangent? Opposite over adjacent. So negative root 3 over 3? Is that right?
I feel like
Okay, on Monday we're going to have a quiz.
A lot of different classes.
So what?
Is this
And-
the most we had for like lessons? Is this the most we had for like lessons?
What do you mean?
Like material for one chapter?
Yeah, well, because we split the other chapters, we didn't split this one, so they're all on the
So we have a quiz on
Monday.
Monday.
Yes, we have a quiz